Pull up. Terrain ahead. Pull up. Terrain ahead. Terrain ahead. Pull up.
Hotel Mike Charlie, Papa Hotel Mike, Beaver 209. Contact Beaver 209. Roger, 209er, I have confirmation of routing if you're ready to copy. 209, okay, yeah, we have our plans, go ahead. Roger, 209, Oceanic confirms your routing. After passing the 37 North 50 West, route via 34 North 60 West. Lazy, Husband Lima, Alpha Zulu Echo Yankee. Find your left into 34 North 60 West, AC, and then Bermuda, Bravo, Delta Alpha. Beaver 209, should we read back is correct, shall we?
Overspeed, 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 overspeed.
I love my family very much. Everybody, please.
Find your left into 34 North 60 West, AC, and then Bermuda, Bravo, Delta Alpha. Beaver 209, should we read back?
Overspeed, 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 overspeed.
Pull up. Terrain ahead. Pull up. Sink rate. Pull up. Terrain. Pull up. Don't sink. Don't sink.
Overspeed, overspeed, overspeed.
Terrain. Pull up. Pull up. Terrain ahead. Pull up. Sink rate. Pull up.
What's happening?